Good evening, I'm Shawn Yao.
And I'm Ed Lingao, standing in for Ces Oreña-Drilon. The big stories tonight. 2 petitions in one day. Groups of civilians and activists filed separate impeachment complaints against VP Sara Duterte in hopes that this time the ouster charge will make it to trial at the Senate.
Meantime, the impeachment complaints against President Bongbong Marcos have been cleared for form. But the more critical test of substance will still have to be decided tomorrow.
And talks of another Senate coup surface again amid clashes over several issues between the minority and the majority blocs.
Hindi ito recycled complaint kasi hanggang ngayon hindi pa sumasagot ng personal si VP Sara Duterte sa mga kaso ng katiwalian, pang-aabuso sa kapangyarihan at pagnanakaw sa kaban ng bayan.
Ang public official ay talagang kino-consider with utmost, dapat may utmost trust ang mga tao. Nakita naman natin yung wala talagang transparency and accountability. So nag-asal pusit ang Vice President kaugnay dito.
Much like a basketball game stopped for a technical timeout, the clock is again ticking for VP Sara Duterte's impeachment. 2 new impeachment complaints against the VP were filed today before the House Secretary General's office, restarting a process halted and sidelined by the Supreme Court last year. Both cases accuse Duterte of misusing more than 600 million pesos in public funds during her term as Education Secretary and Vice President. The first refiled complaint was from former lawmakers Franz Castro and Pauline Verzosa and endorsed by the lower chamber's 3-member Makabayan bloc. Just like in the impeachment complaint they filed in 2024, they accused the Vice President of alleged misuse of public funds, bribery, and threatening to kill President Bongbong Marcos, the First Lady, and his cousin, former Speaker Martin Romualdez. The complainants also accused Duterte of ignoring congressional inquiries. What's new this time is that they included as grounds the claims of self-proclaimed Duterte bagman Ramil Madriaga that illegal pogo and drug money found their way into Duterte's 2022 election campaign kitty.
Ang public official ay talagang kino-consider with utmost, dapat may utmost trust ang mga tao. Nakita naman natin yung wala talagang transparency and accountability. Well, this is a tantamount to malversation of misappropriation or misuse of public funds. Hindi siya sumasagot doon sa mga tanong sa lahat ng committee, kahit na yun sa mga budget hearings. So nag-asal pusit ang Vice President kaugnay dito.
Yung asal din po ni VP Sara Duterte, itong 2025 budget deliberations for the 2026 budget. Kung matatandaan natin, may halos boycott ng nangyayaring budget hearings. Ito po ay taliwas doon sa dapat na functions ng public official kapag sinasalang po ang budget niya sa deliberations ng Kamara.
Tumanggap siya ng cash mula dun sa mga security officers ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Tumutugma yung timeline niya doon sa mga narinig na natin na testimonya ng mga special disbursing officers kaugnay ng pag-withdraw ng pera at pagbibigay nito sa mga security officers.
The second complaint, which also accused Duterte of betrayal of public trust, was from civil society groups. It was endorsed by Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Laila De Lima and Akbayan Party List Representative Percy Sendanya. This group included in their complaint the Vice President's alleged involvement in extrajudicial killings conducted during the drug war of her father, the former President Rodrigo Duterte.
I believe na meron talaga na mga grounds, mga batayan, impeachable offenses laban o pwedeng i-prove at mapuprove during the hearings sa Committee on Justice. Most of the complainants of this impeachment complaint are also the complainants or were also the complainants of the first impeachment complaint filed noong December 2, 2024.
Hindi ito recycled complaint kasi hanggang ngayon hindi pa sumasagot ng personal si VP Sara Duterte sa mga kaso ng katiwalian, pang-aabuso sa kapangyarihan at pagnanakaw sa kaban ng bayan.
The Vice President's defense team says they are prepared to face the new complaints. In a statement, Attorney Michael Poa said, quote, "A fair and impartial review will demonstrate that the accusations are devoid of both factual and legal basis."
And on StoryCon this afternoon, we asked one of the complainants how they see the chances in getting VP Duterte impeached and convicted this time around.
It really is also the appetite of Congress and the political situation now for any impeachment complaint to go forward. It really is, as everyone says, a political process. We thought we had better chances last year, honestly, kung akong tatanungin, no? I also pala need to clarify for the sake of our organizations that these were individual complainants. We took it upon ourselves to file the complaints as individuals. Even during the first filing, my own motivation was really just, is this the right thing to do? No? Even then, kasi there were serious political considerations in the filing. We were coming up upon an election. We were looking at whether that would skew the election discourse to toxicity and issues that were not really necessary for our people to look at in choosing their officials, whether national or local. But my decision hasn't changed. I honestly think that there has been serious crimes, I guess, committed, and that therefore the Vice President needs to be held accountable.
And while impeachment complaints were filed against Vice President Sara Duterte, hearings on the impeachment complaints against President Marcos also commenced. Today, majority of the House Committee on Justice determined that the two complaints against Marcos are both sufficient in form. News 5's Marian Enriquez has the story.
The two impeachment complaints against President Bongbong Marcos have hurdled the first step. The House Committee on Justice on February 2nd declared both complaints sufficient in form. This means the impeachment complaints complied with basic legal requirements, proper verification and endorsement under the 1987 Constitution and House rules. The first impeachment complaint, filed by Attorney Andre De Jesus, was declared sufficient in form with 46 members voting in favor, 1 voting against, and 1 abstention. The second complaint, lodged by former Bayan Muna chairperson Liza Maza, along with several other complainants, received 35 yes votes, 9 no votes, and 1 abstention. Both complaints were filed on the grounds that President Bongbong Marcos betrayed public trust, stemming from the alleged kidnapping of former President Rodrigo Duterte to the alleged misuse of public funds, particularly for flood control projects. Before this, several lawmakers raised doubts on the validity of the complaints. Manila Congressman Joel Chua initially questioned the legitimacy of the complainants' signatures.
I think it's unnecessary because there is a presumption of authenticity of signatures unless someone or anyone questions it. Then it becomes an issue.
But I think that is very important. Why? Because we are talking here of the sufficiency in form. And one of the very important in the form is the signature itself.
Justice Committee Chairperson Batangas Representative Jervy Luistro even had to step in.
We recognize the significance of the opinion and observation of the Honorable Chua, but nevertheless, let us confine ourselves to what appear in the impeachment complaint.
Cagayan de Oro Representative Rufus Rodriguez also flagged a notarial discrepancy he saw in the second complaint.
But if you will read here, verification, signature, there's no notarization. No notarization of the verification itself. Can you post those two? Because I've read this for the past week. And certainly we wish to hear it, but if it is insufficient in form, it cannot go.
This was immediately corrected by Kabataan Party List Representative Rene Co, who advised the lawmaker that the notary can be found in the succeeding pages. It was, however, Manila Congressman Benny Abante who stole the show. Abante, who was also among the lawmakers who had questions on the verification of both complaints, walked out after the second complaint was declared sufficient in form.
It is very clear that there is insufficiency in form, that this is actually an exercise in futility and a waste of the people's money. I therefore would like to walk out of this hearing right now.
Tuesday, February 3rd will be the true test for the impeachment complaints as the Justice Committee will determine if both are sufficient in substance.
Hindi po sapat na nakasaad doon yung mga pagkakamali. Ang tanong, ito bang pagkakamaling ito ho ba ay impeachable offense? I hope I made it clear, no? At kagaya po ng nangyari kanina, bukas, pagkatapos pong talakayan ang sufficiency in substance, ang offense ba ay impeachable offense? Sapat ba ito para mag-constitute ng ground for impeachment?
For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
The House Committee on Justice will have its hands full tomorrow and in the next few weeks. We talk about that in today's hearing with Committee Chairperson Representative Jelby Luisto. Magandang gabi, Congresswoman. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Magandang gabi po and thank you for having me here.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, let me start off with this. The rules po of the House on the impeachment procedures, are you going to have to revise them pa in consonance with last week's decision of the Supreme Court or pwedeng hindi na po?
Well, as a general statement, no, Ed, the resolution of the Supreme Court has no significance to the current impeachment complaint because that resolution pertains to the second mode of filing an impeachment.
Yes, ma'am.
That is via 1/3 of all the members of the House of Representatives, whereas the current impeachment complaint against the President were filed by private individuals endorsed by House members. So at least on that ground, no, the current impeachment process should not be affected by the recent resolution of the Supreme Court. Although I understand, Ed, there are some concerns, some details in the decision of the Supreme Court resolution, which will have some implication in as far as the process of impeachment is concerned. No? This pertains to the definition of session days, which
Yes,
has been
ma'am.
changed.
Yes, ma'am. I asked that kasi po, sooner or later, within this month, probably, you will have 2 impeachment complaints probably going to your committee. And I suppose you would have some sort of common rules or common procedures as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, that is correct. So with respect to this is just my opinion, of course, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a matter that rests exclusively to the Committee on Rules, subject, of course, to the approval of the plenary, no? But in as far as I am concerned, with respect to the definition of session days, for purposes of impeachment, I subscribe to the opinion that we have to follow the definition of the Supreme Court. And that means that session day pertains to calendar days where the House of Representatives hold their session.
Mhm.
But you also plan, and correct me if I'm wrong, Congresswoman, no, to ask the Supreme Court to clarify ano ba talaga yung day of reckoning, quote-unquote, Feb 5 ba talaga, Jan 14 ba talaga yung last day nung ban? How does a session day affect that? And then, what if hindi sumagot in a timely fashion yung Supreme Court? What do you plan?
Actually, it was expressly provided in the recent resolution na no more appeal, no more petition, no more motion, no? Which means that is final and executory already. So I don't know really how we are going to solicit a clarification from the Supreme Court, but I am hoping that somehow we will be able to find some ways kung paano ito maklaklaro ng Supreme Court, no? The confusion actually lies between the original decision and the recent resolution of the Supreme Court, no? Sabi dun sa unang decision, the 1-year prohibition period lapsed last February 5 of 2026. No? This February 5 of
Yes, ma'am.
2026.
Yes, ma'am.
No? which will technically allow the second impeachment starting February 6 of 2026, no? Ano ba yung February 5? That is the date of filing of the impeachment complaint signed and verified by at least 1/3 of all the members of the House, no? Yun yung sabi doon sa original decision. However, comes the recent resolution. By implication, ang sabi nila, the filing of the first impeachment complaint, that was December 2 of 2024, is deemed an initiation for failure of the House of Representatives to take action within the period of 10
Yes, ma'am.
session days, no?
Opo.
So we counted 10th session day in accordance with their definition, which is
Jan 14, I
calendar
think.
days when there is a session of the House of Representatives should have ended last January 14
Yes,
of 2026, right? 2025.
2025. Opo.
Which technically will lapse on January 14 of 2026, correct?
Yes.
So, January 15 of 2026, technically speaking, naglapse na ang one-year prohibition period and the second impeachment should be allowed already, no?
Oh,
But of
that's
course, we have...
why.
And in fact, ayun na nga siguro yung reason kung bakit dalawa yung nag-file today.
Bakit ang aga nila hindi sila
Correct.
nagitan ng February 6?
We have to invite the attention of the people also that the recent resolution of the Supreme Court was issued January 28 of 2026, no? Kaya ngayon lang nagkakaroon ng filing, but if the same was issued earlier, baka habulin pa nila yung January 15, which based on the resolution of the Supreme Court, expired na yung one-year prohibition period. So, the confusion actually lies on whether kailan ba talaga nag-expire. Was it will it expire on February 6 of 2026, or did it
January
expire
14.
already last January 14 of 2026, no? One more thing, Ed, no, and Sean. We have to consider also the definition of session day, no? Kasi under the old rule or the original decision of the Supreme Court, wala pang bagong definition ng session day. The practice of the House really is one session does not necessarily constitute one session day because it is possible that that is just a continuation
Or
of
suspension.
the practice
Yes, ma'am.
session. No?
Yes, ma'am.
Kapag suspension lang, then the succeeding session should be considered only as a continuation. So,
Yan
it
po.
is...
Tama, Kong. Yan yung laman ng motion for reconsideration nyo napasok 'Di ba? Yung sa kay VP Sara last year na impeachment. Kasi
Correct.
within 10 session days, counting pag sinabi, adjourn, tug-tug-tug, hindi sa suspensions, right?
Correct.
But now that binago na ng Supreme Court, I don't know if you've spoken to the Rules Committee kung i-adopt ba ito for everything or just for impeachment practices alone.
Sa akin lang to, Sean and Ed, no? Sa akin lang. From my end, as chairperson of the Justice Committee, I have always expressed my highest regard and respect to the Supreme Court, being the final arbiter of all controversies arising from the implementation and interpretation of the laws, no? For purposes of impeachment, I am inclined to adopt the new definition of session day. However, for legislative purposes, I think we should keep the original definition of session days, no? But of course, it is not for the Justice Committee to decide on this. We have the Committee on Rules, which takes care of the rules of the House of Representatives, subject, of course, to the approval of all the members of the House of Representatives.
Ma'am, also, well, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a lawyer. I just try to understand. I just try to understand as much as I can. But if I read it correctly, the July 25 decision of the Supreme Court basically said na pasok dun sa 10 days yung first 3 complaints. And then comes last week's decision, hindi na siya pasok because it was recalculated to be on January 14. Did I get that right?
That is correct. From the original decision, we counted from December 2, the filing of the first impeachment complaint. by the original definition of session day, no, from December 2 up to February 5, which is the fourth impeachment complaint, pasok sa 10 session days, applying the original definition of session day, no? But based on the recent decision, kung saan nagbago na ang definition ng session day, which means now calendar days when the House of Representatives holds session, hanggang January 14 na lang. That is why the December 2 impeachment complaint, which was filed back in 2024, it was considered as deemed initiated already, and the succeeding impeachment complaints are violation already of the one-year bar rule.
Okay. Also, kanina, medyo very slight tensions lang naman sa Justice Committee hearing, Congresswoman Luistro. Yung issue sa notaryo, papatawag pa yung notaryo. How do you, tas semi-walk out si Congressman Amante. Okay na ba tayo doon? So tomorrow we proceed to substance, which is, I think, yun yung mas madugong part. So is everything settled, or do you expect, no, that some of the congressmen in your committee will still, protest something about what happened today with the form?
Well, of course, we have always known the Honorable Abante to be so passionate about his positions, no? And we perfectly understand that, no? As to whether there will be similar manifestations tomorrow, of course, we cannot stop the members of the Justice Committee. However, they should understand that the issue on sufficiency on form has been voted upon already. So that should be considered as done already. And for tomorrow, what we intend to hear is the manifestation and comments regarding the sufficiency in substance, no? First, of course, is the complaint of De Jesus, and then it will be followed by the Masa et al. Impeachment complaint.
Congresswoman, quick follow-up. You guys are going to consolidate these two complaints against the president, right? But last week kasi, nung lumabas yung decision ng Supreme Court na final, nagkaroon din ng issues kung gray area ba yung pagko-consolidate? Pwede ba talaga nating i-consolidate? Do you expect any counter arguments to that if you indeed proceed to consolidate these two complaints?
Okay. Let me share the authority why consolidation is allowed in the Justice Committee, no? This has been ruled upon in the Mercedes Gutierrez case, no? And also, the same was pronounced by the Honorable Supreme Court in the recent resolution, no? But as to how you consolidate, really, wala pa tayong president eh. As a matter of fact, yung Mercedes Gutierrez case, even before consolidation, nag-resign na siya. But nevertheless, this is how we interpret it in the Justice Committee. By consolidation, it means that we are taking up 2 or more impeachment complaints in one proceeding only. Okay. So we are doing that right now. So for us, we interpret it as consolidated 2 impeachment complaints because there is only one impeachment proceeding, no? But as to the physical consolidation of the causes of action, the offenses alleged, and the grounds of impeachment, this will happen only at the 5th or last step of the entire proceeding before the Justice Committee. And that is when we determine the existence of probable cause, where we are supposed to prepare already the articles of impeachment if indeed there is a probable cause that supports the impeachment complaint.
Ma'am, sa segue lang dun sa impeachment complaint against VP Sara. I know, wala pa ho sa inyo sa Justice Committee. Kakafile lang naman kanina yung dalawa. But I was wondering lang kasi, given the Supreme Court decision that was affirmed last week, does that mean na beginning today na ang day 1 of 10 for Congress to calendar an impeachment complaint against the VP in the order of business? So this is day 1 of 10 na po?
Well, I wish to believe na that 10-day is applicable to Speaker's office to plenary, right? No? And then from plenary to the Justice Committee, that is 3 session days. However, nandudun pa siya sa office ni SecGen,
Yes, ma'am.
who is mandated by the Constitution and the rules to take action immediately.
Yes, ma'am.
So, ang implication lang nito, the resolution of the Supreme Court, pag pinalampas mo yung 10 session days na yan, pag pinalampas mo yung 3 session days na yan, and even if you fail to transmit to the Speaker immediately, mag-ooperate yung sinasabi ng Supreme Court na deemed
Dismiss.
initiated.
Parang dinismiss na siya. I asked that po kasi if I read it correctly, parang sasabi ng Supreme Court na walang prerogative ang SecGen o yung Speaker to defer action on these cases. They have to immediately act on them, whether it's the 10 days to calendar or the 3 days to refer.
I agree to that, Ed. So, what really triggers the deemed initiation operation, no, is the inaction. Kapag walang ginawa ang House of Representatives at naglapse ang 10 session days as well as the 3 session days, it is considered as initiated, deemed initiated because of the House of Representatives' inaction or failure to act on the impeachment complaint.
But we're not expecting any of that to happen this time around, no, Congresswoman? So I guess by tomorrow, possibly, nasa office na ni Speaker from the office of the SecGen?
I'm sorry, I cannot speak for the Secretary General, neither for the Speaker and the plenary, no? I can speak only for the Justice Committee.
Fair enough.
Okay. Ma'am, okay, Justice Committee po tayo. Like we were saying nga kanina, in all likelihood, by within this month, you'll probably have 2 impeachment complaints running through your committee. How are you going to handle that?
Of course, it is challenging because I think this is unprecedented, no?
Certainly.
First time in our history that the President and the Vice President are facing impeachment complaints. But again, as I have said before, this is a constitutional mandate. We have no choice but to discharge our function as member of the Justice Committee. So what I plan to do, this will be done by way of parallel action, no? Sabay natin yang didinggin, and ahead of time, we will be predetermining already the schedule of hearing dedicated for the impeachment process against the President, as well as the schedule of hearing dedicated for the impeachment process against the Vice President.
Actually, Congresswoman, no, sabi ni Ed, 2 impeachment complaint, but actually it sounds more like 4 to 6 kasi 2 yung sa presidente. So far, 2 yung sa vice-presidente, but as rumors have it,
We don't even know yet kung may dadagdag
may
pa.
madadagdag pa. O paano yun, if that's the case, and for sure may mag-endorse naman na isa sa iyong colleagues, so far there's 2. If there really are 2 more, are you gonna wait for it? Or yun nga, sabi mo naman yung consolidation happens in step 5 to 6 pa. So is it all like okay lang?
Well, wala kaming choice eh. This is not a question of whether we like it or not, di ba? This is a question of constitutional duty. So kung ilan yung dumating talaga, ma-refer sa Justice Committee, we're bound to discharge our function as members of the Justice Committee. If it is 4, then we will be hearing all 4 under the same impeachment proceeding.
Ma'am, there was one more thing dun sa due process argument ng Korte Suprema that nire-require ng Korte Suprema na there's sufficient evidence to prove the case against the accused. How exactly is that going to be determined? I mean, I'm not talking about yung hearing dun sa Justice Committee, pero at the very least yung sufficient evidence already submitted for the perusal of the legislators.
For the substance part.
Yeah, that is correct, Ed, no? As a matter of fact, both the decision of July 25, 2025, and the resolution of January 28, 2026 speaks about the sufficient evidence which must be attached to the impeachment complaint, and which physical copy must be provided to the individual members of the House of Representatives. Of course, this is, for us, is something new with respect, if we will compare it to the prior prior impeachment process, no? Prior to the decision of the Supreme Court, the July 25, 2025. But nevertheless, we are talking about due process here, and we totally agree with the Supreme Court in as far as that is concerned.
Okay. Safe answer, ma'am. Maraming salamat for joining us tonight. House Committee on Justice Chairperson, Congresswoman Jeremy Luiso. Thank you po.
We're just going to take a very quick break, but still to come. Senate President Tito Soto says he has colleagues who are no longer satisfied with his leadership. Is another Senate shakeup in the works? The answer when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back to the big story. Senators are denying talks of another brewing coup at the upper chamber. Our Senate President Tito Soto himself admits that there could be reasons why some of his colleagues are not happy with his leadership. Among them, changes in committee chairmanships. Recently, Senator Jaime Marcos was replaced by Senator Erwin Tulfo as Foreign Relations Committee Chairman. Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson earlier said a major committee like Foreign Relations should be headed by somebody from the majority bloc. Coincidentally, the presidential sister declined to sign the Senate resolution condemning China's continued criticism of Filipino government officials.
Baka dahil mahigpit ako. Mahigpit ako sa insertion sa budget.
Pero may nagparamdam SP na hindi masaya sa liderato ninyo?
Hindi, wala naman. Wala naman nakakarating sa akin.
Senator Erwin Tulfo also shrugged off the rumored Senate shakeup. He says that so far, nobody is making the rounds to even ask them about their opinion on the matter.
Kung kumag-usap sa inyo.
On change of leadership, nagtatawag eh. Boss, dito ka na, kayo magkapatid. Usually it's like that. Pero minsan talagang wala naman, tahimik. It's quiet.
At least 13 senators are needed to replace the Senate president. According to the Senate Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano, there is not enough numbers to make this happen, at least for now.
It's rumors until it's there. There's always discussion. There are people happy of our direction, may people na hindi happy sa direction.
Ongoing ang pag-uusap para mapalitan yung leadership, sir?
All kinds of pag-uusap. Paano baguhin yung direction? Kamusta yung leadership? Makaka-13 ba? That's never been a secret.
But no 13 yet? No 13 yet?
Physically, wala.
For his part, Senator Lacson believes that talks of Senate shakeups are normal. He says any threat to the Senate presidency is rebellion that is, quote, a continuing crime since time immemorial.
In other news, the Department of Justice has kicked off its preliminary investigation on the plunder cases against Senator Jinggoy Estrada and former Senator Bong Revilla. Let's get more details from News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez, who joins us right here in the studio tonight. Mon, we already know hindi sumipot si Congressman Estrada and former Congressman Revilla. Former Senator Revilla, you're right. So, ano nangyari?
Yeah, tama kayo dyan, no, Shawn. Senator Jinggoy Estrada and former Senator Bong Revilla did not attend the preliminary investigation a while ago. This is again regarding their allegedly involvement on the flood control scandal. Ang sinasabi kasi dito, there's said to be some bid reading or manipulated bidding on the said flood control projects that they are involved allegedly. And so sabi naman ni Prosecutor General Richard Anthony Fodulio, this is just the first day of the preliminary investigation. So technically, they are not yet required to attend physically or to be in person sa DOJ. Kasi ang ginagawa pa lang naman daw ngayon is somehow reception of records. Parang pagkuha pa lamang ng mga documents para nga dito sa plunder cases, separate plunder cases na kinakaharap ni na Estrada and Revilla. There is an explanation of Prosecutor General Richard Fodulio. Let's listen to this.
Counter affidavits have to be submitted. The next scheduled hearing, then that's the time that they will be obliged to appear.
Will be on February 12.
So they're going to be required to appear. I thought kasi all the while na you don't necessarily have to appear sa PI, preliminary investigation. However, you do take the risk na if you don't appear, syempre, the judgment may be against you. Yeah. You lose your chance to speak up and explain your side more thoroughly than just your lawyers.
Yes, technically. Though kanina yun nga, lawyers lang din naman yung humarap. And then, yun nangyayari ngayon, there's another plunder case that's being discussed or being handled by DOJ, and that is regarding or involving former Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico. Mas nauna yung sa kanya na pinag-usapan na or parang dinidinig na, and somehow undergoing investigation doon, pero until now wala pa rin si Zaldico, and even hindi pa siya nakakapag-file ng counter affidavit just to get his side. Pero sinasabi lang din ng DOJ dito, they will not wait for his side or for his counter affidavit because ang kanilang timeline for this one is only 60 days. So mula nung na-file siya ng January 5, it's been counting already. So ang sabi nila, they will release they will resolve itong pinaka-plunder case ni Zaldico kahit wala pa siyang binibigay na counter affidavit. So ito yung parang sinasabi mo, Ed, na mas maganda talaga if you will at least face it physically.
Otherwise, you waive.
Yes, you are waiving it.
Certain rights and privileges that you might have if you were there.
Did he have an attorney present to represent
Technically,
him?
yes. Well, on the part of Zaldico, yes, and even on the part of Estrada and Revilla a while ago, may mga lawyers naman sila who represent them.
But let's focus on Zaldico. Is there any specific reason why they're parang medyo it would seem like naka-fast track yung sa kanya? Is it something to do with trying to look for him and trying to bring him back here?
Ang sabi naman ng DOJ, hindi. Parang lahat naman daw, they are planning na maging mabilis talaga yung pag-handle dito sa mga plunder cases na to. So, yung timeline about 60 days is parang ganoon din naman sa lahat. So, ang nangyari lang, mas nauna kasi yung kay Zaldico. So, ngayon, under investigation pa rin. May mga pending na mga kailangan pang kaharapin, no? So I think may mga motion na ifina-file kasi yung kabilang camp or yung camp nga ni meron kasi inihahain pa yung NBI rather na mga additional documents na talagang mas makakadagdag pa sa mga mas magpapatibay, magpapalakas pa doon sa plunder cases na inihain sa 3.
Sorry, medyo allergic ako dyan sa 60 calendar days ba yan? Or hindi naman session days? No?
Parang kanina.
But that's basically 2 months.
Technically
so nakakaisang buwan pa lang.
Somehow,
so he has another month to work things out. What about the lawyers? Did they give any statement a while ago? The lawyer of Jinggoy, the lawyer of...
No, they didn't. Parang they opted not to respond to media when we tried to ask them. Pero ang isa sa mga sumagot sa amin, actually, Ed and Shawn, is yung isa sa mga fellow respondents ni Senator Jinggoy Estrada on the plunder case who happens to be former DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan. He was present there, physically, he attended it, at kasama yung kanyang lawyer, and then when we asked his reaction regarding the plunder case, saka paano ito hinaharap, no? Ang sabi lang naman niya, they will be studying it pa lang, dahil ngayon pa lang doon nila nakuha yung pinaka-documents or yung pinaka-reklamo, so he is actually ready to at least sagutin ito. At tinanong din natin, no, kasi nga, parang during the whole plunder case hearing, sinabi din kanina ni former Secretary Bonoan that he will not leave the country unless kung kailangan niya bisitahin yung kanyang misis sa Amerika na may sakit. So, tinanong natin sa DOJ kung anong magiging kaso nun, kung sakasakali. Ang sabi naman nila, wala naman daw problema. Okay lang naman daw yun dahil wala naman din naman whole departure order sa mga respondents. Pero, nilinaw nila that they still have, they already issued, meron na naka-issue na Immigration Lookout Bulletin Order, ILBO. May ILBO na sa lahat ng mga respondents, so they need to be extra careful regarding this. Merong statement dito ang spokesperson ng DOJ. Let's listen to this.
Any movement that they make across different jurisdictions will be closely monitored. And yung pag-ask nila ng permission o pagbigay nila ng notice sa DOJ is just their indication of good faith. But in the grand scheme of things, legally, yung Department of Justice is in no position to say, sige, pwede ka umalis, sige, you can stay, you can move different jurisdictions. Again, may constitutional right to travel pa po kasi sila habang hindi pa sila akusado.
That's true. Yung ILBO naman, titingnan ka lang naman
Yes. Alamin lang kung nasan ka at saka anong gagawin mo.
Noted lang, noted.
Noted lang. Tama.
Noted.
Technically.
Okay. So, apparently, May mga iba pang sumipot. We're talking
Meron.
about Henry Alcantara, dating taga-DPWH, and one of the contractors, si Miss Sally Santos ng SIMS.
Both of them under consideration. Oh, no, they've been accepted already.
Yeah, state witnesses.
State witnesses.
On the issue. Yes, they went there, although silang dalawa ay bahagi din ng, ng mga respondents dito sa mga plunder cases na ito. Pero again, the two were already classified as state witness already with the issue. So they went there, sabi naman kanina ni Attorney Polo Martinez, this is actually a usual thing na nangyayari na madalas silang pumupunta pabalik-balik sa DOJ regarding their status, their pagiging state witnesses, no? At saka, yun nga, pagpunta sa Witness Protection Program. Pero we clarified, kasi nga respondents pa rin sila sa kaso eh. At ang sabi naman nila, yes, they're still respondents, so magkakaroon ng parang magpa-file na kung sakali na silang aalisin doon para nga maging witness na. So it will come naman daw in the next hearing.
And syempre maraming tao, ganun na lang kung, kumbaga, kung if they rat someone out or mag-chuchu sila, are they gonna be completely free from prosecution?
Ang sinasabi nga rin kanina ni Attorney Polo Martinez, yung regarding sa sa restitution or sa mga binabalik na pera, no? Ang parang binabanggit doon din naman daw yun yung pinaka daan para maging state witness ka. It just so happened that they need these people para daw mas makuha at mapalalim pa yung mga kaso na isinampa laban dito nga sa mga ilang mga officials.
Well, strangely, itong si Prosec General Fadulyon, when we talked to him a week ago or so, ang sabi niya kasi, para hindi na kailangan dumaan pa doon sa korte para mapagdesisyonan kung sila magiging state witness. I'm talking about, of course, Alcantara and Sally Santos. Para hindi sila kailangan i-dismiss as respondents doon sa case, hindi na nila isasama sa information.
But then, kanina, kasama pa rin.
So, kaya nga, so that's what's making me wonder kasi kung hindi ka isama sa information, then that's as good as saying na hindi ka kasama sa kaso.
Okay ka na.
It's basically, hindi ka kasama sa kaso. And that's how they sidestep having to wait for the court to dismiss you as a respondent. Otherwise kasi, you have to wait for the court to say na, yes, you're a state witness, you're dismissed as a respondent.
Maybe, could it be that, Mon, or napag-usapan pa, na-bring up ba kanina na, is this still in process? And, because you mentioned something eventually magyayari ito.
Yeah, yun yung parang explanation din sa amin kanina ni Attorney Polo Martinez kasi hindi siya na-bring up sa amin kanina ni Prosecutor General Fadulyon, no, yung tungkol dyan. Pero yun nga, ang in-explain naman ni Polo Martinez kanina sa amin is dahil nga nasa information of case pa sila, at kasama sila sa mga respondents, so dahil siguro din, this is just the first day again, mga kapatid, so kaya nandun pa yung pangalan nila. Kasi yun yung tinanong din namin akala namin state witness na, bakit nandun pa yung pangalan nila? So yung explanation nga ni Attorney Martinez na maalis din naman eventually.
We still have to follow this process.
Kailangan lang, makita talaga na they are respondents of the case.
Zaldico, walang mention at all where he is right now.
Wala.
Is he still in Sweden or is he back in Portugal?
We tried to ask that kay spokesperson. Pero he didn't give us any information about it kung ano bang whereabouts so far. So mas nag-focus na lang on the cases na kinakaharap ng tatlo, which is Plunder regarding the flood control anomaly.
So, last question. Kung hindi nila mahanap si Zaldico at hindi nila maipabalik dito at umusad na yung kaso, will it just proceed without Zaldico and just his attorney present?
Yes, at yun nga, Zaldico already at least parang winave niya na yung right niya na makapagpaliwanag or defend himself technically on the said case.
Sa PI.
For
Pero
the
kasi, as far as criminal cases concerned, as far as the criminal case is concerned, you have to be arraigned
Yes.
for the court to take cognizance
In
of
person.
for the court to take over your case. So you cannot be convicted if you were never arraigned.
Yeah, again, this is just preliminary investigation.
So I guess mahaba pa yung proseso.
Yeah.
This is just the first day. Opo.
PI pa lang.
Preliminary investigation.
PI.
Let's make that very clear. Mahaba pa ito. But for now, thank you so much, News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez. Meanwhile, here are the other stories making headlines at the start of this week. President Bongbong Marcos says he is in stable condition and is steadily recovering after scaling back on public engagements. In his latest vlog, the president said doctors have ruled out any serious illness, explaining that he simply needs rest to regain strength after his recent weight loss. The chief executive has been diagnosed with diverticulitis. In that same vlog, Mr. Marcos laid out his policy priorities, saying government rules should ease daily life, improve healthcare, and remove red tape.
Makikita mo sa mga pulisiya ang mga pinapahalagahan natin sa ating bansa, ang disiplina, ang seguridad, kalusugan, at iba pa. Dito sa ating bansa, marami pang pulisiya ang kailangan natin baguhin at rebasahin. Nakikita natin sa balita at naririnig natin ang mga kababayan natin ang kanilang mga reklamo.
And this one out of the Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines, or FOCAP Forum, earlier today. Ombudsman Boying Remulla says he has asked the camp of fugitive Zaldico to return money allegedly taken from flood control projects to prove good faith. The request, Remulla said, was relayed through intermediaries, reportedly a group of priests sent by Co. He clarified that no deal was offered, but said that he is open to talks if the former lawmaker shows sincerity. Co is facing plunder, malversation, and other charges linked to the flood control scam. Remulla said restitution may affect sentencing depending on the information that Co provides, but he stressed that state witness status is a whole separate issue.
Basta restitution, pag-usapan kagad. Kasi kung talagang willing kayo, then magsauli kayo. Kaya lang, that's always part of the proposition. Kasi kung iintayin mo na ang korte ang magsasabi kung magkano isa sa uli, baka 20 taon na hindi pa tapos yan. Sabi ko naman sa kanila, dapat yan ang una nating isama sa usapan. Ano makikipag-usap ka, wala kang kasalanan, tapos wala kang bibigay, wala kang isa sa uli. Anong pag-uusapan natin?
And the Bureau of Customs will auction off 10 luxury vehicles once owned by contractor couple Curly and Sara Discaya. The public auction will be held on February 11 at 10 a.m. at the Port of Manila. Among the vehicles up for sale are a black Rolls-Royce Cullinan and a blue Bentley Bentayga, both previously subjected to 2 failed biddings. Also included are several seized SUVs, such as one Lincoln Navigator and a Cadillac Escalade, all flagged for lacking proof of tax payment. Public viewing of the vehicles is set for February 5 and 6, while floor prices have yet to be announced.
You're still watching The Big Story on One News. Up next, another survey is out and it shows trust ratings of President Marcos and VP Sara Duterte swinging on opposite ends. We have details when we return. Keep it here on One News. The Big Story is back with a new Octa Research survey showing shifting public sentiment toward the country's top leaders. The latest tugon ng Masa poll sees a drop in President Bongbong Marcos' trust and performance ratings in the fourth quarter. Trust in President fell by 9 percentage points from 57% in the third quarter to 48% in the fourth quarter. Still, a slim majority continues to approve of his performance at 51%. Approval was highest in Balanced Luzon at 58% and lowest in Mindanao at 42%. Here's what Octa Research President Ranjit Rai told Storycon about the decline in Marcos's ratings.
This is not a story of collapse. That's precisely it. Because there's a divergence between trust and performance. You have performance at more than 50%. So this can't be a story of collapse, at least as far as Octa surveys are concerned. This is a significant decline, no? And it's something that the government has to address, no? By going back to what the president has promised over the last 2 or 3 quarters or over the last 3 years. And that's what I wanted to basically emphasize. This is not a collapse, no? And my sense is this divergence between trust and performance, as far as the president is concerned, is really the public becoming more critical, no? Filipinos are distinguishing more clearly between trust in leadership and assessment of performance. And that's what I wanted to emphasize. This is not a collapse, because we thought it would be a collapse by this time because you have a 9 percentage point drop in trust. But the performance held. So this could actually be could be, a turning point also if the administration is able to push its agenda of good governance forward. If the cases against, as Ami rightly pointed out, if the cases against, graft cases against these people in our political, members of our political elite prosper, I think it could also actually signal a turnaround.
Meanwhile, over the same period, Vice President Sara Duterte posted gains. Her trust rating rose to 53% from 51%, while her performance rating climbed to 54% from 49%. Regionally, her highest performance rating came from Mindanao at 79%, from the lowest from Balance Luzon at 41%. The Octa survey was conducted from December 16 to 20, 2025 among 1,200 adults nationwide.
And before we go, it was yet again a night of firsts and record-setting wins at the 68th Annual Grammy Awards. And our big picture, the night's biggest winners, starting with Steven Spielberg, who achieved the rare EGOT milestone. The acclaimed filmmaker completed the feat after winning the Grammy for Best Music Film for Music by John Williams, adding to his collection of an Emmy, an Oscar, and a Tony Award. Meantime, in music's top category, Bad Bunny made history after winning Album of the Year, becoming the first all-Spanish language album to win the Grammy's top prize. Record of the Year went to Kendrick Lamar and SZA for Luther, while Billie Eilish and Phineas won Song of the Year for Wildflower, marking their third win in the category. And Olivia Dean was named Best New Artist. Lady Gaga won Best Pop Vocal Album for Mayhem, and Kendrick Lamar also claimed Best Rap Album for GNX. K-pop also marked a milestone as Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters won Best Song Written for Visual Media, which is also the genre's first ever Grammy win. And that's it for the big story this first Monday of February. We are back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.
And we have coming up next, play-by-play with Andre Felix and Cheska Liton Calaw. Guys, February na, what do you have for us?
Ang haba ng January.
Ang bilis kaya.
Actually, mabilis, no? If you think about it, nagbabatian lang tayo ng Happy New Year. Kami ni Bok, nag-Happy New Year lang. Tapos ngayon, Bok, ano na? Happy Valentine's na!
Oh.
Alam mo, kung nahabaan kayo sa January, mas mahaba ang February for those na walang ka-Valentines.
Oo. Despite the fact na 28 days lang siya. Hindi naman leap year. Diba?
Actually. Pabilis na pabilis. Well, happy Monday to you. And I won't say thank you to the ladies of the Big Story kasi nandyan si Bok Ed. So thank you, Bok, and thank you, Shawn. We'll see you tomorrow. On our show, Shawn was asking what we have. We have a lot for you tonight.